record number of people who had some kind of role in this meeting. So if you can raise your hand, if you are on the agenda, if you helped to cook food, if you made any recruitment calls to anyone, if you, I'm not seeing any hands, I feel like, if you did anything to make this meeting happen, thank you. So I think that's amazing, first of all. So welcome, it's great to have you all here. I think we can, for folks who want to, we'll make a little room. People can feel free to come in. Some of you guys a little claustrophobic. So we have a lot of really exciting things on our agenda, and folks have been very thoughtful in preparing. So we're excited to share with you. And we're going to start with a Devar Torah from Spirituality Chair Mimi Michner, and I just want to thank Alana Bruffen, who's going to be our timekeeper. So she'll be keeping us on track to make sure we get to dinner on time.
I've been instructed to be cutthroat.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Mimi. I am the Spirituality Chair here. I have been tasked with opening and framing what we're here to do today with some words of Torah. So that is what I'm going to do for the next few minutes. So this is something we do every year. And it's something we do for particular reasons. And we're here for particular reasons. One of those things that we're here to do, and I think first and foremost, we are here to celebrate. Celebrate what we have been able to accomplish as a community and celebrate who we are in this room. We are also here to decide, to make some pretty concrete decisions about what we want to be doing as a community, what it looks like for us to be moving forward. I think we are also here, and this is what I want to spend a few minutes talking about, to notice. To notice where we are as a community, both its opportunities and its challenges, and to think pretty concretely about where we want to go based on that. Very conveniently, this week's Torah portion has some insight about these kinds of moments. When we ask ourselves what it is that we notice about ourselves. So, in this week's portion, we read the story of the building of the Mishkan. The Mishkan is like this transportable sort of sanctuary that the Jewish people had in the desert when they were en route from Egypt to the land of Canaan. And in this story, God has some interesting things to say about sort of the main architect contractor of the Mishkan, whose name was Bezalel. I'm going to read pretty specifically what was said. The language is pretty important. Only in English for our sake. So divine inspiration filled him, this is Bezalel, with wisdom, with understanding, and with knowledge, and with every craft. Okay, so those are pretty specific qualities. And they're made in a pretty distinct way. And what struck me about this verse is that it's not actually clear to me what is so distinct between wisdom and knowledge and understanding that they require three distinct mentions. So what is that about? The answer to this question I found in the book of Proverbs, where these three words are again sort of unpacked. And I'm again going to read for you that. Okay. So with wisdom, God founded the earth. With understanding, God lastingly established the heavens. With divine knowledge, depths were split and the skies distilled dew. Okay, so for me, or the way I see it at least, this distinction is actually just about three different stages in a building process. The first is this stage of wisdom. And that wisdom is about getting things started. So what it says here is, with wisdom, God founded the earth. The second stage is one of understanding. And that's actually just about sustaining. So, as it says, with understanding, God lastingly established the heavens. And in this third stage of knowledge, that's actually about distinguishing. It's this idea of figuring out how to be discerning in situations. As it said, with divine knowledge, depths were split. So I think that graphs actually really, really nicely into where we are as a community. I think we know that this community was born based on a pretty specific wisdom, or in the way that I see it, like a pretty specific hypothesis, which is that if we build a community that is deeply rooted in progressive values, that is led by its participants, that is going to be incredibly exciting and generative for our generation. And I think just looking around this room, like, we can attest to the fact that that hypothesis is true and alive. That being said, that's not where we're at anymore. You know, we still maintain this wisdom as we do our work. But we're now living in the stage of sustaining and of distinguishing or being discerning. So I think what that means is there's new questions that we have to address as a community. What does it look like, for example, for us to be able to sustain ourselves? What tools do we need to be able to continue to take on the work that we're doing in building our community, taking on the political work we want to do, the spiritual work we want to do, that sort of thing. Also, what does it look like for us to be intentional about what we take on? We have a big appetite as a community, which is amazing. But what does it look like for us to be strategic about what we take on in the future, in terms of our political work again, our spiritual work, our programming, etc.? So I think the membership meeting is really a time for us to be wrestling with these questions. And this is something that I would say doesn't start and stop here, but it is the place, well, I'll say this, it is the place where we start. So what I would say as you're going into this meeting, I invite you to really start being in that process, and to continue to allow those questions to sort of germinate as things go on. I'll leave it at that.
We're now going to continue with the membership structure and draw of money.
Okay, well, that was a perfect segue. You think she might have known what was coming next. Hi, everyone. Wow, this is amazing. So my name is Nina Robinson. I currently serve as the Moishka Boathouse Development Chair, which is a real honor. I have to say, there's like something so special about this place that, like, no matter how my day's been or how I'm feeling, like, whenever I step in and I'm surrounded by so many incredible people, like, everything just sort of, like, elevates, and I'm so happy, and I'm so glad we're all here today together. So, in the next half an hour or so, myself and some of my friends around the room, we're going to walk you through what our current financial situation is, where we've been, where we are, and where we're going, and give you the opportunity to think about what this community means to you, and how you want to ensure that it is sustained and made better moving forward. So with that, I'm going to give you a brief history of our funding structure. There's going to be time for questions. I know for some of you, you've heard this a lot. For some of you, it's new. So if you have questions, jot them down, keep them in your head, and there will be time for that. My savvy slide advancer here will go to the next slide. Okay. So how many people know, raise your hand if you, I don't want to call people out, but this will be easier. Raise your hand if you don't know that we are part of a national organization, international organization called Moishka House. Oh, great! So we can send that part to them. So we've been around for about 7 years. From 2006 to 2011, the way our funding structure worked was that the national body raised the dollars that our house and other houses around the country needed to make programs happen. So that, in addition to making programs happen, allowing people to live here in the house and get a rent subsidy, and there'll be slides later about what the budget is. So that money came from national down to us. We weren't responsible for any raising of dollars. All we had to do was program. Next slide. So, as... Okay, it's so funny.
I like it.
So as Moishka House, as an international organization, blew up in a very positive way, and there's exploded. I don't know what to say. Expanded, got bigger. Thank you. As there was more demand for houses like ours, but not as cool because we're the best one. The people on the national board got smart and said, this is not a sustainable model for us. It doesn't make sense for us to be raising money from sort of like national funders and funneling it down locally. The communities in which each house exists need to support the house because the community is benefiting. And community means a lot of different things. We are actually the only house, as far as I know, that raises money from its participants in any significant way, which is a big deal. So for the years 2011 and 2012, Moy House National said all of the houses need to move to a local funding structure such that if the house can't raise its own money from local sources, and that means many things, it can't continue to exist. So in year one of that, 2011, we had a challenge grant from like a national donor to set us up to be able to do that. So we raised 1/3 of our budget locally, and they gave in the other 2/3. And then in 2012, we raised 2/3, and they pitched in 1/3. And then this year, 2013, is the first year where we raised everything ourselves. And as you can see, we're still here, so we met those challenges. This is just the Boston skyline. Oh, sorry, slide it in. Oh, now until forever. Okay, so great. Okay, next slide. Okay, so a lot of people ask, well, what does it cost to run this place? It's actually not very much at all if you know anything about other synagogue funding models or other nonprofit funding models. The fact that for $50,000 a year, we can put on 100 plus programs, we can engage more than 600 people, we can partner with tens of organizations in the community to do amazing social justice work. Like, that's a drop of a hat, that's nothing, and that's really, really incredible. So this is just the breakdown, and you see here the biggest portion is actually goes towards our fabulous housemates being able to live here at a highly, highly reduced rate because they put in an incredible amount of time and effort to make sure we all do what we need to do. Moving on. Another thing to note about our programming expenses, basically, that's all food. We don't actually do anything that, we are the people who make this happen, and that doesn't cost us any money, that costs us time, which is also what's able to keep our budget pretty small. So where does that money come from? Another thing to say is that our budget has, the budget's essentially been the same for the past 6 years, it's just where it comes from is changing. So right now, this is the projection of what we're going to raise, which I have absolutely no doubt that we will. So, what are the colors? Okay, hold on. Okay, so $12,000. We actually get a very nice allocation from Combined Jewish Philanthropies, which is the Jewish Federation here for disclosure purposes. I also work there, but I'm not just saying they're great because I work there. You can ask me more about how this allocation came to be, but they're basically really impressed with us, as they should be. Projecting $10,000 from sort of family and friends. Many of your parents have given to the organization over the years, and we're going to continue to do that. $18,000 from sort of Jewish people in the community who are older than us but think we're awesome and want to make sure that we continue to thrive. And then this piece, which we're going to be talking more about, is us. This is how much I think, based on what people have said and where we are, this is what I think is really reasonable for us as a community to be able to put in to making sure that we continue to do great things. And this is actually really important, especially when I and other people go out into the community and meet with funders, to be able to say that our community of young adults is giving a significant amount towards our budget is incredibly, incredibly impressive. Next slide. Next slide. Okay, I'm done. Great. Who's next? Alexander is next.
Thanks, Dina.
Good job, Dina.
Okay. My name's Alexander Nimser. I've been coming since sometime October, November, when I started doing Parsha study with a couple friends, and I've been coming since then. So, as the money team was grappling with the first germs of this proposal, they looked to a model that Rabbi Toba Spitzer of Congregation Dorsey Tzedek had derived, which was very inspiring, based on two source texts, both from Exodus, which just so happen to be the Parsha texts of right around now. The money, I asked the money people if this was planned, and they said it was. Okay. So the two texts from Dorsey Tzedek from Exodus, they really model two potential and, to me, quite harmonizable aspects of relating to money. And the first one is a scene of census taking, in which all the Israelites in the desert are called to contribute equally across the group a half shekel of participation in the community. It's a kind of census tax, the same for everybody, though we have now expanded personhood to include women. And
in advance of the tax.
The second text, which comes a bit later, is also in the desert, but is about making the Mishkan. And in this, it's no longer equal, universal across the group, but it's based on the inspiration of each individual's heart, the willingness of each individual heart to give what they uniquely and specifically possess. So in this scene, there's a huge accumulation of brooches and earrings and rings and dyes and skins and oils and whatever each person has, they contribute freely and specifically. So the two together, there's the sense that we want to have this basis in total equality, and that's the half shekel, which I think is $36, as we're going to hear. But then there's this additional willingness of heart giving, which is according to each as an individual. And I will say finally that these two texts, as I experienced them in the Torah of Money classes, was kind of a way of synthesizing what the group discovered about money attitudes moving forward, and the two, so the equality combined with the gift of each individual and the capacity for each individual expression, was our way of meeting those two feelings together. So I'm going to hand it over to Liz to get into the nitty-gritty.
For money people, just so you know, you're running a few minutes over according to that schedule. So
Thanks, Leon.
you have about 14 minutes to it.
Hi, everyone. I'm Liz. I got involved about a year ago. So I'm going to talk about what it actually looked like for us to come to the proposal that we have for the due structure today. So when we started off, knowing that we needed and wanted to raise a great deal more of our budget from ourselves as community members, there were a few things that we were thinking about. One was that we wanted this to be a real communal decision with everybody's input. Another was that we wanted it to be grounded in Torah and in values. And another was that we were really excited about the opportunity for people to be talking about money and to bring some of that out in the open, and to think about how to do this in an inclusive way that really respects where people are and have come from in terms of money. So as Alexander said, we drew from the wisdom of Rabbi Tova Spitzer and Congregation Dorsey Tzedek in both content and process of the proposal. And we did several things. One was we had 2 Torah of Money classes that about 30 people came to. And we looked at our own associations with money and our own values around money. And we looked at different texts from Midrash and Torah that show these different models of contributing to and funding communal needs and projects. We wanted to then bring that out to a wider group and to make it more specific to Moshe Kavod House. So we essentially drew the proposal based on Dorsey Tzedek's due structure, and we put it out for input at 5 small Shabbat dinners that happened on the same night across Boston, foiled once by a snowstorm, not foiled a second time. And based on that input, we revised the proposal a bit, and we sent it out for a survey to the whole listserv and asked people for feedback.
Can we see who in the room were either at Torah of Money or at those Shabbat dinners? Okay.
Or responded to the survey?
Yeah.
This is amazing. This feels incredible to look around that room and to see that we're really successful in our goals of having this be a communal process. Thanks, Helen. So what did we come to? Probably all of you, based on that, know, more or less. The first thing, based on this concept of half shekel and real accessibility and equality of everyone contributing and everyone contributing in an equal amount, is a base rate or half shekel of $36. The second component is based on this willing heart, a voluntary self-determined additional contribution, Nadiv Lev, that we thought, this is just as critical to the contribution as the base rate, but we wanted this to be based on people's ability to give and on people's kind of outpourings of the heart. And so we gave any and every amount is valuable and appreciated, and we also gave a kind of suggested reflection guideline for people to look at whatever is income for them and to think about contributing between about 0.5% and 1.5% of income. And again, this is based a bit on Dorsey Tzedek's model.
And it's completely guideline, not at all required. Before we get to questions, I want to mention the survey results. 82% of people, 57 respondents, said that they would approve the new due structure. A few people said that they needed more information, they had questions, and so hopefully now is the time for some of those questions to be answered. And then I think there was one person who had some objections. Yes, Sam. Just several people had objections and questions. Only one person actually voted to disapprove.
Okay, thank you.
Indicated disapproval.
Okay. So 82% would give half shekel plus additional, and 11% said that they would give the half shekel. So when we asked how much would you give, 36 people responded, and the average amount was $163. The median, the middle amount, was $125. And this is in addition to the half shekel of $36.
Liz, you have 7 more minutes for this section.
Great. So I think we're at the point where if you have questions,
we can answer them really fast.
So I will be moderating questions, and Nina and Liz will be fielding questions.
Are the questions only about the half shekel or anything related to the new money structure?
Anything about this proposal?
Only the proposal.
No, anything that we've talked about, you can ask questions
Okay,
about.
I have a question.
We're gonna hear several questions
Before
and then see if we can answer.
Yes. My question is, at last year's meeting, we talked about that at this point, at this year's meeting, we would talk about what it means to be a part of Moishe House National now that they're no longer funding us. And I was wondering if part of our budget is going to be paying their staff.
It's not.
So
Okay, so just so that other people, I know you're answering me, but just so other people know. So the question is, will we be paying Moishe House National any money in order to remain part of Moishe House National?
Thank you.
No.
Other questions? Okay, I see one,
Thank you.
two, three.
So my question is, what kind of provisions are there on an ongoing basis as part of the process of sliding scale of having members reflect on how much it makes sense for each of us to be paid?
That is entirely the.
Let's just. I want to take your questions and then if you're like raring to go.
Nina's ready to go. Go for it, Liz.
Okay, go for it.
I was just gonna wait to be told what to do. So that's the whole idea. We really want this to be an individual reflection and decision about what makes the most sense for you. Is that
how much? No, it doesn't.
No.
How much structures are going to be to actually make people think, as opposed to just picking a number that seems about right?
I think this is the structure. This is our offering of what other people are saying and sharing of the kind of basis and the reasoning. And as we go forward, I think we'll try to figure out ways to do that with people who aren't here today.
Can whoever asks say that we're gonna split up into pairs and talk more?
So hold on, that's
okay.
I'm hearing a lot of buzzing right now, so I hear that it's all about the stuff. I wanted to get the questions and the answers out in the open. So let's take the other two questions and then we can see what we can figure out.
Sure. Just curious from a kind of transparency standpoint, how big is the gap between last year's what we collected in 2012 membership dues and the 2013 $10,000 goal?
Thanks, and Molly.
So, this is a statement that I'm sure has been or will be addressed anyway. But I want to make sure people who are working part-time or are unemployed feel really comfortable either giving later, like not when the drive is happening to collect the $36, either can say I'm gonna just do 36 down the line if I get full-time employment, or can just say look, I'm gonna take $1 a month to kind of look at it and give $12 right now because that's what I can do, and that there's no that there's not only no discomfort given towards that option of giving less than 36, but that it's really explicit that you are encouraged to be a full member of this community no matter if you can't meet that $36. I really want to make sure people feel very comfortable with that option, that's all. And I'm sure this has been discussed, I might be reiterating points that,
Can I?
Yeah, please.
I know I can't answer Noah's question. I want to address this and a piece of what Ilana is asking. I'm one of the people in that situation. It's I think I'm going to have full-time employment later in the year, and so I want to be contributing more than I'm able to right now. Right now I'm going to be making a small contribution, a contribution that makes sense for what I'm earning right now. Later on this year, if I end up with fuller-time employment, I'll be making a larger contribution. And yeah, we definitely, that was a key piece of this. This is a flexible dues structure. We want everybody, any amount that people contribute is really valuable. And to the question, did I?
Yeah, just that it's explicit when dues are being requested, that it's made explicit in writing and verbally that people are invited to give as much as they can.
Yes. Thank you for raising that. And we'd scheduled in time to do some reflection here, and the income percentage guideline chart, which went out in the survey and I think is on a slide here. is one tool that people can use for that. Like Liz said, we need to figure out some more ways to create more space for that reflection.
Sam, you have 2 more minutes.
So I think, okay, so I'm going to answer Noah's question, and then we're gonna skip the sharing because we have to. And then you can share later over dinner. I just want to be respectful of time. So to your question, basically, so historically our dues have been either $36 if you're a student or low income, or $50 for everybody else, and that's brought in about $4,000 a year. Honestly, I think that $10,000 is probably low, but so that's to that question. And to your question, Molly, really what's important is you can give $1, but you can't give 0 because money whether we, I mean you can give 0 if you want, but whether we like it or not, money is power, and to give, even if it's $1 because that's all you can afford, to show that this community matters to me, that's important. So whatever it is 100% appreciated and valued, but it needs to be something. Yeah. That, yeah. So, Leo. And if there are more questions later, you can feel free to ask me or anybody who's been speaking. We just need to. Yeah.
Hi everyone, I'm Salil. I lived here last year. Great.
Hi,
Salil.
Hi.
So I'm just going to talk about for a second how I, assuming this gets approved, came to the amount that I decided on. And so I've been thinking about it for the last couple of months. And the first thing I decided was that Kavod was going to be my largest philanthropic gift relative to all the gifts that I give during a year. That was easy for me. Then I started thinking, well, how do I figure out an amount? And so I thought, well, why do I do Kavod? Why is it important to me? And so there are 2 large things. A, it's everyone in this room. It's the community. It's the ability to come here on Shabbat and practice my spirituality, and something that I would do at maybe a synagogue or other events. I don't have to do that because I have this community, and that's important. And the second reason, which actually to me is much more important, is that I genuinely believe that this organization, that Kavod, is training the future leaders of the Jewish community. And that is incredibly important to me, and I think it's something that this community does better than any organization I've ever seen, and I'm proud of that. That's valuable. So that's great, but it still doesn't answer how much I'm going to give. And so that answer came from actually a discussion I had with Mike. And Mike said to me, Salil, is Kavod worth $1 a day to you? And I said, $1 a day? What can I get with $1 a day? Not very much. So I thought about it and I said, absolutely, Kavod is worth $1 a day. And I also thought, I'm a student. Maybe I don't necessarily have $1 a day. But maybe next year, when I have a job, I'm going to have $1 a day. And so with that in mind, I decided to make a 2-year investment, knowing that I might not be here next year, but that Kavod is that important to me that I'm going to do that. And I decided to make a 2-year gift of $1,000.
Okay, Nina, we're
now
over
we
time.
are gonna, so we need to vote on the proposal. So the proposal,
No, Nina.
oh yeah, you're right, okay, sorry. Alexander, forgot about that part. Everybody's like,
Okay, so I cannot boast of a high income as a beginner in a creative profession, but I know that Moishe Kavod will be, for me, the main spiritual donation that I would make, at all. And I'm thinking of it very much like the amount per month. So I'm going to give $50, which is about $5 a month, with a couple blanks for a non-denominational chicken sandwich. Realistically. To me, it really is like the center of Jewish life for me, and I am really learning a lot from everyone. I kind of have a warm feeling for everybody. And specifically, the opportunity to try out so many different roles in a community. I mean, my natural one would be giving poetry readings, which I have done here, but also to be able to be involved in this money stuff, which is a first for me, or Parsha study with the friends here who to me are extremely learned and interesting. All of these possible roles, and I think this is something that others feel is the multiplicity of engagement. So, $5 a month, $50 total.
Great. So we are running low on time. Liz and Alex talked about, what we're doing, how it's working. We took some questions. We're going to take a vote. We can vote. You can vote yes. You can vote no, or you could abstain. I'm going to say yes, and you're going to put your hands up. I'm going to vote no. You can put your hands up, and I'm going to say abstain, and you can put your hands up. Any questions about that?
So it sounds like there's a lot of support around this proposal, but I just want to be clear on what a no vote would mean.
A no vote.
Yes.
So we need 2/3 to pass. A no vote means you don't agree with the structure that we have.
What my question was is if the community votes no on this
That's
proposal.
a great question. Someone want to answer that?
We keep our old due structure.
Okay.
Great.
Great,
Thanks,
thank
Jared.
And we go back to the drawing board.
Great.
Thanks.
Great.
And everybody understands that the proposal we're voting on is that for membership. Membership. The proposal is that starting in this year, 2013, now and into the future, membership is $36 half shekel base rate for everybody, and then an additional amount if you so choose above the 36. Whatever you choose, and if you're unable to make the 36, that's totally fine. But that you give something that is meaningful to you. Yeah, Shelley.
Sorry, and just a quick question. And this is just related to fundraising for membership dues?
Yes. Yes. This is just for us. Yeah.
I'm sure that you can answer this question now, but I think it would be helpful if a part of this structure includes some clarity about who is seeing people's donations and how open to the community that's going to be.
So for now, giving is confidential, which means that I'll see it, and probably Alana as finance chair will see it because we deal with that. But that's it for now. And if we need to have a conversation later about if we want to publish it or whatever, we'll do that. But for now, that's.
Guys, I think we're already over 5 minutes over.
Yeah.
We need to vote.
Good? Okay, I'm going to say yes. We're going to vote no. We're going to put our hands up and then abstain. Okay?
And just ahead of time, right now 2/3 is 30 of the people here. It's 34 people. So if 34 people vote for it, then it passes. And if fewer than 34 vote for it, then it doesn't pass.
All in favor of everything that we just talked about? Great. Mazel tov, everyone.
Wait. Okay. Now.
Was that?
Well, no.
We should count.
You should count the no's.
No, put your hands down. Put your hands down.
Yeah.
Let's count the yes. You can just subtract later. Okay. If anybody, if
we do the no's and abstains, we can get the yeses by deduction.
Still take notes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Who wants to vote no? And who wants to abstain? Great. Thank you, everyone. Great.
It was unanimous.
Smiles.
Okay. Great.
Later on, we're going to ask you about how much you want to give.
Yeah.
Before you leave
we can't do that. Right.
Yeah.
So we're going to pass this around, which is a beautiful sheet that Nina made up, and there's a lot of information. Not a lot. There's information here that's very clear to read. How much you'd like to give. We welcome everyone to do that over the next couple of hours, and Nina will go around collecting them. If you have any questions, please ask Nina or myself. Sam probably knows most of them as well, or anyone who's been doing Torah of Money. Thank you for working with us on this, and
thanks for our money team.
Okay, so sorry. I know I'm over time, and I know that that's caused some tension. I know. I just want to say it's important. I think because there's. This is like really amazing, you guys. Like to say that we want, as a young adult community, want to build this community
nobody else is doing this, and I'm confident of that, and I just want everybody to realize, like, how big that just was.
Yeah.
Thank you so much to the membership structure Torah of Money team. We are now going to transition into our social justice strategy.
Great. So I'm going to invite up Julie to do the first part, but this is going to be on Margie Hyde. This is in the next 20 minutes.